Tell you about that, but first, a honeymoon disaster. A Connecticut man vanished on July the 6th after a heavy night of drinking and gambling on his honeymoon aboard a Mediterranean cruise ship. Witnesses say they heard a loud party coming from George Smith's stateroom, followed by a horrific thud. Now, no one has been charged in the case, but authorities found that blood that you see right there on the ship, and they suspect foul play. Joining us now for more, criminal defense attorney Courtney Anderson and Fox News legal analyst Peter Johnson, famed forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden. Dr. Baden is also the author of the best-selling book, Remain Silent. Dr. Baden, I look at that blood and I think of you. Because
Thank you.
in this way, well, I didn't mean it that way. In this way, what can we get out of that? The argument, the thud, the blood.
Yeah, it means that somehow he was injured and bleeding before he went over. That over the railing onto that overhang where we're looking at the blood. Yeah. So that something happened in the cabin, and there's reports that there's blood in the cabin. Now, and he had been drinking heavily. Now, whether
they were
or not,
on their honeymoon. I'm not going to make judgments.
No.
Right.
The reason I'm mentioning that is whether he had fallen and injured himself, or whether somebody else did it to him, is causing him to bleed, and then causing him to go over the rail onto that spot, depends on interviewing everybody who knew what was happening.
Peter Johnson, there have been talk, there were a lot of male voices there.
Yes.
What was odd to me is the wife woke up in the morning, went to the gym, didn't notice anything amiss, and he was reported missing after the cleaners found all the blood in the cabin and alerted the captain.
Yeah, it's a bizarre set of facts. One report has it that, in fact, there was no report until cleaners found blood in the cabin, and the report, although we don't know if it's true or not, indicates that the wife did not make the report. Although I have to say that on your show the other night, the Connecticut State Attorney General Blumenthal, who's not connected with the case, observed in his opinion that there would be exculpatory evidence
for the
with regard to the wife.
Yeah.
Meaning that she was not involved.
I get very upset when, and let me throw this to Courtney. Courtney, when there's cases like this, and maybe this is a Susan Smith world, a Scott Peterson world, but we tend to just we get very suspicious very quickly of people close by. And I think we've got to be very careful in cases like this. But your thoughts when you see that blood and you find out that it was there, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely agree that we want to be cautious and not rush to judgment. We know that there have been many instances where our first suspicion is not correct, like with the runaway bride from a few months ago. But we know statistically also that the majority of the time, it is someone very, very close to you who is the most likely statistical person who would be a perpetuated crime against you.
Yeah, Dr. Baden, I want to go back to you. Specifically, I also understand that they cleaned up a lot of this. Will that hurt in the search for the evidence in the case?
Sure. The whole process by which cruise ships don't take any evidence when a crime is committed, the most common crime, some kind of rape or something, the quick turnaround time, keeping on schedule is going to be very hurtful to the investigation. However, they supposedly took specimens of the blood in the room and on the landing, and we don't have a report back. Presumably it's his, but we can't tell from all this whether it's an accident or a homicide.
That's the problem. From a PR standpoint, Peter, are they making a mistake by saying nothing and having said nothing to the public?
Well, from a PR standpoint, it's an absolute horror show based upon the reports that we have.
And the blood.
And the blood. From one published report, a family that was next door was not interviewed until 5 days after, even though they had gone to authorities on the ship and indicate that they had heard the sound and that they found blood on the canopy below their balcony. And they were only interviewed by the cruise line's lawyers.
Okay, maybe
they're civil lawyers.
Peter, all three of you. Maybe I'm missing something here, but the single biggest piece of information that I get so far is this wife wakes up, goes to the gym, and sees nothing wrong in the stateroom. Well, something may be wrong if your husband's not there and he's not in the bathroom. You just got married to the guy. Would you not think when you get up early, you go to the gym, and your old man's not next to you in bed that maybe something's missing? Well, I mean, I can understand luggage, maybe some jewelry, but the old man? I mean, come on.
I also think it's
that Peter has with not enough information. Supposedly, the wife never got to the stateroom. One of the stories came in that the wife slept on a deck chair because they'd both been drinking, and she never got to the stateroom, and then she went from the deck chair to the gym.
Dr. Biden, let me just say, as a man who doesn't drink anymore that used to drink, if I drank that much was in a deck chair, I would not be in the gym early the next morning.
Well,
That's the thing. There's too much.
There's also a report, and we don't know if it's true or not, that in which she indicated that she had no recollection of what had gone on the evening before. So we have varying reports according to different publications, and we know that the scene was in fact disturbed, and we know that the Turkish authorities didn't have access to important information. I mean, it's not until Fox uncovered these photos that these photos came out.
Well, look, Courtney, let me ask you a question about this. The one thing we do have is this fellow next door saying he heard these male voices, multiple. Now, I would assume if you have that report, right, and therefore you could probably assume, well, maybe there was a fight or at least a disagreement. Wouldn't you then interview every single male on that boat before they got off, take some blood samples to check to see if they've got any blood on their fingernails? I mean, what are we missing here?
You're profiling.
I absolutely agree.
I know I'm profiling.
There's a lot of things here very interesting. I mean, here's a woman on her honeymoon who had such a good time. They went to the casino. They had some drinks. She either fell asleep on the deck chair or she passed out somewhere, wakes up, goes to the gym, either doesn't get to the stateroom. If she does, doesn't notice the blood, doesn't think it's strange her husband is missing. There's this loud argument, this party, male voices, female voices, a thud. It's a very intriguing situation. We know it's a large cruise ship. He didn't disappear. There's blood. So I do think that the cruise ship, I do think the Turkish authorities, and certainly now that the U.S. government has taken over this investigation, that we should see some kind of...
Very quick question. There's a blood... you can't do it? I can't ask the question. I'm so fascinated by this now.
No, you know what, though?
Okay.
The sad part is, I mean, you know, this is their honeymoon, and just no answers. I mean, all right, guys, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.